really want to make sure we touch on this.
Yeah.
21, huge crash in Leger.
And he does it! And if he wants, he can carry that speed all the way down here. How fast does he want to go? Massive crash! Oh my goodness! Wow!
Yeah, again, I'd love you just to talk a little bit about the days after that crash. Obviously, you got up from it.
Yeah.
Peaks missing, got the bullet, get over the line, covered in mud, the bits missing off your bike, adrenaline's still going, but you managed to get to the bottom, man.
Yeah.
So fair play. That's such an epic crash. Yeah, what were the repercussions of that crash, especially in like the short term after and then the long term? Because I feel like from the outside looking in, you probably struggled with that more than any other injury, would you say? Or
that's kind of when the head hit started. That was when the first one I had that when I was getting up from, it was like all those white, what they say, the white stars and circles are spiraling around in my head, and like you could hear the like an actual ring in your head, and I was absolutely out of it, but I didn't feel like anything was broken. I went down to the hospital, got an x-ray. She was like, "Oh, you broke your collarbone." I was like, "No, I've not." So it's absolutely fine. It's not sore at all. And she was like, "Okay then." I said, "Yeah, it's fine, honestly." So might have broke my collarbone, but other than that, I was just wrung my dome really, really bad.
yeah.
I went on that season, picked up. Obviously, if you watch the movie The Flying Scotsman, it tells you that whole storyline and how it went on from there. And I got back to winning a World Cup fair and square against Loic Bruni on a track that I should probably never win a World Cup on. You know, I'm always the mud guy at that point.
It's a great. We'll put a link in the show description for anyone who hasn't seen The Flying Scotsman.
Yeah, it was an epic year, but that was definitely the realization to me of, and definitely a humbling moment of like, right, you can't just throw yourself down the hill every single time. You know, there's a time and a place where there's going to be a race where, let's say I'm second in the overall, it's the final round of the year, and you can win it. You need to win the race. Fine. Yeah. Well, that's worth jeopardising my life for, you know. But just World Cup round 3 or whatever it was, you know, halfway through the year, we're just getting going to make a decision like that. But again, I was hell bent on winning the race. I thought this could be one of these Sam Hill, Sean Pree situations. Like I know it can, and I knew with how slow and everybody else was going across that grass, the momentum that I was carrying in, if I had made it over the jump and I was going to go grass, cross the main line, stay on the grass high, everybody else was slipping about in the mud. I was like, I'm going to make 3 seconds on that bottom section, easy. And I didn't really think I would lose it at the top. And I was about 3 or 4 when I got to that section. I genuinely think I could have done it. And that's the only reason why I risked it that much, because I thought this is going to be the coolest race in history if I pull this off, and it's worth doing it. And I just had that like, here we go, and fucking no chance, not even close, you know. Like, but then, like you say, The Flying Scotsman was born. Yeah. The movie was absolutely insane. It was one of the sickest crashes ever. Didn't really get overly hurt. Positive things came from it. Yeah. It would have been cool to win the race, but it was just as cool regardless. I remember after the race, leaving the finish area, and people's faces, like I've never seen a crowd of faces like shocked like that. You know, like everybody, the riders, like, A, how are you alive? And B, I'm standing there doing the salute. Like I was aware of what I was doing. I was aware of how insane it would have been, and that's kind of why it was worth jeopardising my health for. So it was insane. It was one of the best moments. Still one of the best races of my career. Worst ending ever, and one of the best races still today, because it was just, the whole run itself was fucking sick. Like, just wild, man. Like it was really good. Yeah, that was a hell of a time.
Yeah, and then to come back and to win a World Cup is
exactly. That was nice.
Am I right in thinking there was a point in the middle where you also had another crash on a photo shoot, which like put things back into perspective? Is that right?
Right enough. Yeah. It was me, Cade. I think it was just me and Cade. Maybe Charlie was there as well. We're at Lenzerheide. We're hanging out for 2 weeks, and we had to go and do a shoot for 100%. And that was the moment that I crashed, and I got back up from, and it was actually okay. And that was the clicking moment for the rest of the season, where I could put the Leger behind me, and I thought, you know what, you're actually okay. Stop overthinking. You're imagining this injury into life rather than just ignoring it and cracking on like you would when you were 10 years old, you know. So I had another crash and thought I'd really hurt myself, and then woke up the next day in the morning, just sitting eating my breakfast, and Cade was like, "Oh, you all right?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, actually, I am all right. I'm fine." And then it started. The momentum picked up again. I was like, yeah, right, we're fine. Stop worrying about it, you know. And I got going again, and ended that season really, really strong. And one of the funnest and best seasons I've ever had was 21, and that was kind of the end of the good stuff. You know,
really,
it kind of started getting difficult after that. Yeah.
Okay. In what way? Why did it get more difficult?
I think the
22. So 2022. Sorry. First round. I've got notes. Lords 7th, Fort William 17th, and then in 22 you took a break.
Yeah, that's when it started. So one of the best starts to the year I'd ever had result-wise. I'd never really been, I think 12th was my best up until that point. So really solid start to the year, and it wasn't my best run either, so I thought it was perfect. We're on easy top 5 pace again. This is going to be a good year. Fort William, can't really remember what happened at Fort William. I think I just struggled with, no, that was it. It was before Fort William. I raced Fort William, concussed out my absolute dome, like walking around the pits. I remember my mum actually being really quite worried because I was almost crying, which is just I never really do, but when I win races I always seem to cry. I put my body armour, I'm trying to work on that. I had my body armour on, I'm walking around the pits like, where is my body armour, you know, like really upset, like who has got my body armour, somebody's moved my body armour, you know, like stomping around. And Mum stopped me and was like, Reece, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I'm serious. And she was like, you're wearing it. I was like, oh, I can't remember putting that on, you know, like oblivious to it, you know, and a lot of things like that happening.
Where was that from, the concussion?
That was from Innerleithen, 2 weeks before Fort William World Cup, maybe even only a week. Me and my mechanic Joe went to practice, and I had the biggest crash I think I've had on a mountain bike at that time. And I couldn't remember, I remember the whole crash, but it was like I was a cloud inside my brain, and my body was just rattling down the hill. So I don't know if there's a form of being knocked out where you're aware but you're numb. Okay. And that's what it was like. So did I hit my spine? Did I tweak my neck? I really don't know. But because I got up and I was physically okay, I was cut but I had no broken bones. Well, you kind of just carry on. And I was oblivious to head injuries at that point.
Right.
So yeah, went down, said to Joe, I just had a huge one, like I should not be okay. And he was like, well, if you're all right, do you want to just maybe do another run? Like it sucks to leave it on a crash. So I'm pretty sure I went up and done another cruisy little lap down and left it at that. Turned up to Fort William World Cup and tried my absolute best. Like thought I was doing really good and was 22nd. And you know, after how that first round had went, I think me and the whole team were like, well, what just happened here? Like, what's happened? You know, it's your home race. You love this place. You go well. You looked fine, you just looked like you weren't trying. And I was like, I was trying, you know. It's like my riding style looks really smooth and easy, so it's very difficult to tell if I'm trying or if I'm not. So Andrew's shouting at me basically like, dude, try harder. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying. Like this track is coming at me like a scene out of Star Wars, you know, like stars are just like, I felt like I was going as fast as I possibly could, and I was 22nd. Then we went out to Schladming again, and another crash just out of the blue, landed on a braking bump, hand dropped off the handlebar, was like wrapped over the stem and went off a berm like a jump and basically down a cliff. And there was a rider behind me who was actually in tears when I stopped rolling and was up against a tree, because he thought I'd died. Like the cliff was,
no way. It
was really, really bad. And that, like when I got up from that, you know, my body, I was just like, I've never been in such a state in all my life. And I remember getting to the bottom of the hill and having uncontrollable emotion. Like I couldn't not stop crying. I just cried and cried and cried. And I phoned Ryan Gall, crying my eyes out. He was crying his eyes out. And I said, Ryan, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just crashing and I've got no explanation for them. I'm upset all the time. Like, just
Who's
crazy.
Ryan Gall? Sorry.
He's, God, I hate to put a title to Ryan Gall, but Ryan Gall is like the man at Trek Factory Racing Downhill. Okay. He's the guy that sorts out, he's in the race shop, he sorts out all their frames, organises the paint and organising the parts. Doesn't really do travel and logistics, but as a racer, he was our guy. RG was the main man. We'd call him the team manager, he acted like the team owner. He was our point of contact for pretty much everything, so he's the guy. Okay. He's dad. Team dad. I phoned him and he was just, he was crying his eyes out as well. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but I need to stop riding my bike, because if I keep crashing like this, something serious is going to happen. And I can't feel it when it's happening. I'm just this bobblehead floating down the hill, and I can see my body. I can see it ragdoll, and I could take you to the track and tell you exactly where my body parts touched the ground and didn't feel a thing, and was getting up without any broken bones or anything like that. So how do you explain that, you know? Yeah. And then I started the journey of people telling me I'm imagining it and everything's fine. And
oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a concussion. You can't see from the outside. Even my parents are like, after 2 or 3 weeks, they're like, right, are you going to start doing something again? And I'm like, I feel like I can't. Like, honestly, I feel useless. my brain scrambled, my emotions are all over the place. It was an absolute mess. And then when you go on the internet, companies like the NFL, they try and hide all of that stuff. Like it's rugby teams are they don't want people to know how severe that is and how common it is and how many different ways that can happen to you.
Was this your first exposure to it as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'd had it as a kid. I had a really, really bad one as a kid. I had a crash on a start line, and somebody's fork leg on a motocross bike hit the back of my helmet, and I got up, finished the moto, and as soon as I came in and took my helmet off, I just like fell asleep basically. And the paramedic was like, "Oh my God, hospital right now, like, or he could die."
I think there was this shift as well, especially when you're younger and even watching the sports that we probably watched, like X Games and stuff growing up, it was a badge of honour. It's like, he smashed his head and he's back doing his second run. And
the C word wasn't even a thing in X Games. You know, they never said to Travis Buchanan when he got up, he suffered a concussion. It was none of that.
Just like back out.
Exactly.
And you're like, yeah.
My parents were the same attitude, get up and get on with it.
Yeah. I feel like hopefully it's shifting. I don't know. You're going to know way more.
I'd definitely like to think I've played a part in that. There's a lot more motor helmets out there. There's a lot of people moving to what they think are the safer helmets. There's a few companies on Instagram now popping up of like concussion awareness. Obviously the HIT device, the company that I've started working with, Head Impact Trauma from Edinburgh. They've got a really, really cool device that our whole team at Aon will be adapting and using and developing going forward to try and get some sort of handle on what our heads are actually going through. Because we've realised with using this technology now that we can pull G's that are getting towards concussion territory just by impacts off of landings of jumps. And you do that repeatedly, over a week, like hardline, just constant head slaps, you know, and it's the whiplash that's actually causing more of the damage than the impact. So all of this stuff is super interesting.
Jet skiing is like one of the worst.
True, because
of the constant moving. And you can see it as well in Supercross or motocross or anything like that. And downhill obviously seems to stand out as one of those sports that's going to be affected.
And I mean, training for downhill is only, I feel like, only really maybe become a new thing. You know, the Steve P era and stuff. It was still kind of drink pints and just ride a bike, but training's getting new. And obviously, people train your back, you train your shoulders. But now people are like, wait a minute, we actually need to train our necks, because you take an equivalation the size of a helmet, put a whole load of mud on it if it's wet, and stick a GoPro on it, and put your goggles on it. It's a lot of extra weight for your head to be thrown around, so you need to take that into consideration and train that as well. And if anybody's had a big crash and whipped their head, you know for a fact the first thing that sores your neck, and it goes straight into your shoulders. Like, you need to have a strong neck in order to hold that all up. And that 2022 season led to me being like looking at my helmet and looking at the average speed that the sport was now at, and it was obvious we're doing an average of 30 miles an hour. It's the same as all motocross tracks pretty much in MXGP. Like, you would never put a trail helmet on a 450 and go and race a motocross race. You know, you just wouldn't. No. So my dad said it from day one. He was like, why on earth are you wearing a mountain bike helmet? Like, put a motocross one on, you know? So that honestly turned my whole world upside down, and it definitely affected my relationships at Trek, because I started being awkward, as you would say. And I knew I was doing it, but it's my head, you know, and I can't put a price on it.
What was
I've
your
only
process
got one.
Like, to recover from that? What were you doing to recover from concussion? Or
I had an old friend called Chris Wallers from our Borders College course, and he and his mum have a bit of a practice where they have some really, it's terrible of me, I can't remember the name of it. I can maybe send it to you. You can link it below. But they had an infrared head device that basically you put on your head. They could scan you first of all, so they could put all these little nodes on your head, and they'd make you watch things on a screen, and they could see how your brain functions. So they can tell the difference between a smoker, you know, a PlayStation game player or whatever else, and they can see what parts are overactive, what parts are maybe quiet and dead, and they can draw a bit of a map as to what's maybe causing it. It's still not 100% accuracy, because as we're finding out now, there's so much more that affects brain performance than just a bruise as such. You know, you can have a big bruise on your leg, but it still works the same. So it's defining whether that bruise has actually caused damage to the brain, or is it just a surface. You know, it's really, really difficult, and they did admit that science is still really needing to catch up as far as sport and head injuries go. So that kind of also inspired me to be like, okay, then we can help with this, you know, we can do this. And that's how the HIT thing came about as well. So anyway, they had this like infrared cap kind of thing that you would put on, and it had two pegs that went up your nose, and it would just like give you infrared light basically into your brain. So I'd use that every other day, eating the right fats, making sure your diet's really good, staying off your phone, and sitting in a dark room really is about all you could do, and you just had to wait, really.
Out, yeah.
And then the really tricky part is where it changes from physical to mental. It's like, am I actually now just imagining these symptoms because I've had them for 2 months? Is it just a habit now that I've gotten into? Now I'm going, my head normally gets sore at about 3 o'clock, and now my head's sore. You know, I started, and that's when I think, you know, you're coming out of it, because you're like, well, oh, wait a minute, like, I'm actually okay.
Okay.
And eventually, by the end of that season, I came through the other side, but yeah.
It's time, innit?
No, miserable year. Missing it, just sat at home, missing all of it, and the momentum I'd had in 2021, how well I'd started that season. What coulda, shoulda, woulda, once again, you know. I feel like it was another one that got taken away from me. It was.
Were you one of those people that would sit and watch races, or would you just avoid it all?
Avoid it all costs.
Yeah, avoid it all.
Yeah, absolutely couldn't do it, especially when I knew I was in a position to win it, and I couldn't really watch TV and stuff anyways. I didn't really want to, so yeah, I avoided all of it. I became pretty sour actually that year. I was a grumpy man.
Yeah. Obviously, 2023. We'll skip through this bit.
Okay. Hey, man, what an episode that was. You did amazing in it.
And so did you.
You shone like a star.
You shone like a moon.
Can we also put something up here that you can click on for the next episode?
How about we put a subscribe up there in the middle?
Yeah,
We're going to put a video we think that our lovely companionship will love on your face.
Oh, my face?
Yeah.
And so they can't see me now?
Gone. And on my face, another video that we think people will love. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please hit like and subscribe. You guys are the best.
Peace and love.